Have you ever entered a room and felt right away that everyone else had their life together? And you're over here thinking if you're even sporting matching socks? Well, me too. But here's the thing. Confidence is a talent, a messy, uncomfortable one. It's not the mystical gene you either have or lack. Trial and error ability that everyone, yes, even you can learn. And now I'm offering. You are very honest, sometimes contentious, and absolutely transformative in life. Strategies to become the most confident version of yourself. Spoilers warning. It has nothing to pretend to have a flawless existence and everything to do with admitting your flaws like a supervisor allowed us to go one speak out, even if your voice. Speaking your truth has a very terrible connotations, particularly when it seems as if the planet is just ready to be split apart. We have all been there, pulse-racing palm, sweating as the words slink up, threatening to explode, but we stop. What if they ridicule us? What if, worst of all, they don't care? The thing speaking out about here is hearing oneself, not about being heard. When I was younger, I learnt this lesson the hard way. Imagine a shy adolescent in a room full of strong viewpoints, clinging on a crumpled scrap of paper that was me during a class, discuss the issue of something I really cared about, gender equality. I had facts and emotion, but I also had a voice that broke like a badly tuned violin. The minute I began to address my students, snickered, someone mumbled, merely sitting down. I wanted to sink into the floor. But here's the twist. I continued my unsteady, uneven argument and ended. A handful of my peers genuinely cheered, and the instructor grinned encouragingly. You know what that was? The day I discovered bravery felt uncomfortable and sweaty, not bold or strong at the moment. Full of uncertainty, yet it transforms you. The reality is no one ever became. Staying quiet. Silence is secure, yes, but safety usually does not spark Rosa Parks' rejection. Greta Thunberg did not whisper. Speaking out via anonymous mails goes beyond merely expressing ideas to questioning conventions and sometimes even losing friends along. Now, the contentious aspect that individuals won't always find appealing here is, you really speak. Many will despise it as the truth is a revolt in nature. A society based on civility, compliance, and the consoling delusion that everything is well. Your voice will disturb those who gain from your quietness. They will attempt to calm you down. Let them try. Their fear is evidence that, on a smaller scale, you're doing morally. Sometimes the daily courage of calling out a racist remark at grand revolution and serious fights counts more than anything else. A family meal requesting that raise or admitting you have no clue what you're doing in a room full of professionals. Personal favorite: the moment I got up at a wedding to tell the groom he was fortunate to have met someone who could accept his dubious dancing skills. Totally worth for the laughs. Made it unforgettable. Hence here's the deep message. Your voice matters because you matter. Even if your words stutter or your phrases come out jumbled, speaking out molds the world someone out of. You must hear what only you can say, and more importantly, you must hear yourself be bold. So go ahead and say, the key to fight is to speak out, even if your voice shakes eventually. Someone else could discover great power in your music. 2. Become at ease being uncomfortable with bravery. Indeed, life starts at the brink of your comfort zone. Yes, I am aware of this phrase. Fine, but the thing with cliches is that they are only unpleasant when they are accurate. The truth grows, harms development. Unusual development causes you to sweat in areas you were unaware of having sweat glands. But the worst is that, without suffering, you're not developing, you're stagnating. That's far worse. I discovered this the hard way in my first public speaking gig. Image myself clutching the podium's sides as if they were a lifeboat, confronting a room full of stone-faced experts, smelling my imposter syndrome from a mile. My head shouted, "Run!" But there was only me there. Nobody else was running. I flopped with a quivering voice and a clicker for my shoddy PowerPoint. Bombed. I missed important points and stammered over my speech. Halfway through the humiliation, closed my slides. Beautiful, but not only did I survive, but that one helped me grow as well. Mortifying event instead of every pleasant one I would have ever experienced here. The controversial part. Comfort is destroying your potential. Everyone loves change. And prosperity. We want it without the suffering, so we may suddenly awaken as better versions of ourselves. Without dragging over the disorganized middle, the reality that middle the sweating. The magic occurs in the uncomfortable. Avoiding discomfort isn't where it happens. Self-care looks like self-sabotage covered in a duvet of justifications. I understand. Although nobody like awkward situations, do you know what's worse? Looking back on dreams come from your life and realizing you lived in comfort zones. To die, you won't discover brilliance browsing Instagram or binge-watching Netflix. You discover it when you show up to the gym, every muscle screams nay, while resting on your wonderfully fluffed pillows. Saying yes to the job you feel unprepared for, or by entering a room full of strangers and daring to introduce yourself. For me, the Alt-EM feel comfortable in a difficult time. I'm talking two left. I'm a total newbie, signing up for salsa classes, foot zero rhythm, and a strong public terror established in humiliation my first class. A fiasco, I stumbled over my own feet, almost face landed on a spin, stepped on someone else's and laughed. Others laughed with me, not at me slowly or uncomfortably. I improved, and the lesson wasn't just about dancing. It also included going into pain and discovering delight. Here's the deep message: discomfort. It is not a punishment. It is a privilege. It's the universe's means of reminding you that you're headed towards something greater than your own conception. About it, did Neil Armstrong feel cozy on the bus? Rosa Parks felt comfy. The money you pay to reach anything is walking upon the moon, hell, no pain. And hence here's my challenge: act in ways that cause discomfort. Every day start small, strike up a conversation with a stranger, attempt a new exercise or voice a controversial viewpoint. Every little act of pain reduces. You're not only comfy with the fear stopping you before you realize it. Being uncomfortable, you are flourishing in it. And while others wonder how you got so confident, so fearless, full of life, you may share with them the truth you acquired, thereby embracing every uncomfortable, terrible situation and resisting the need for comfort. Define you 3. Pick up the ability to say no without 5 minutes. Saying no is among the most freeing gestures of self-love, and among those of which one of the toughest. We have all been there, pushed into agreeing to something we do not want to do, since the idea of saying no seems too weighty. But the fact is that every yes you offer from guilt is, if you're always justifying your no, you're letting others know your limitations. Negotiable spoil warning. I discovered this the hard way when a colleague requested me to cover their shift once again. I refused to do it. Instead of a basic no, I rumbled for 5 minutes about requiring rest and being busy. Juggle obligations, I stumbled nevertheless, and guess what? I still ended up with guilt tripped me. Doing it because my justification allowed for debate and lacked a limit. It was an apology, the contentious bit you owe someone an explanation for. Your no, let it sink in. Society tell us, particularly women, that we have to defend. Here's the thing. Our choice is to avoid coming off as harsh or conceited. Taking care of oneself isn't selfish. Selfish is survival if you're always bending over yourself to satisfy people. Consider this, and you will come to detest both yourself and others. Was the last time someone admitted to telling you no? Most likely never, because those who value themselves just say no and move on, really. They do not feel the need to explain their value. My turning point came from the energy we all need during a family get-together with Aunt. You know, the kind, inquisitive, intrusive, and relentless. asked me to assist in organizing a weekend-long event I wanted no part of. I began with my normal, and am so sad I cannot. Spiel, then I stopped mid-sentence. Why was I explaining? I inhaled deeply to someone who hardly gave my arguments any thought. I honestly answered no. Her mouth fell. I won't be able to assist with that. Asked to know why, and I only grinned as I couldn't finish the narrative. And you know what? The world did not end. She found someone else to do it, and I continued. Now that my weekend is free, let's deal with the elephant in the room. People will become enraged. Saying no results in not your issue. Other people's disappointment is not yours either. Your obligation to repeat it to yourself each time someone attempts to guilt trip. If they are offended, it is because they are accustomed to you putting their demands before your own. Let them adapt. And saying no is not about being a jerk or turning away from helping someone. Again, it's about judgment. Reserve your yes for things that ignite you. Match with your objectives or very important to you. Life too short to waste your time on responsibilities that saps your energy. Here's the deep lesson. Every no you say is a yes to the life you desire. Saying no does not make you selfish, harsh, or mean. It makes you deliberate, strong, reminds you that your time and energy are limited resources. You get to determine where they land, so practice saying no without the fluff. I cannot make it to that meeting. I do not want to join that organization. You'll feel embarrassed first. However, with time you'll find that I'm not accessible, period. When you begin living a life full of intentional yeses, you will wonder why simplicity has power. Ever squandered your resources on anything else? 4. Welcome your imperfections and show them. Let's clear one thing first. You are not perfect, neither are I, nor Beyoncé. Indeed, perfection is a fiction one. We have all been taught to pursue via Instagram filters and glossy mags. And those who market life tips on TikTok, here's the reality. The elements of you that feel untidy or too much are exactly what make you extraordinary. Why then should you conceal them? Thought my flooring were things to mend, or at least cover up. Take, for instance, my laugh is loud and almost annoying. Think of a fog. Years I attempted to suppress it, choosing the nice approach by crossing with a hyena. Little laugh I believed people anticipated, but one day during a comedy presentation, the comedian delivered a joke so funny I let my actual laughter fill the room. Turned to stare at me. I wanted to burrow under my seat, but suddenly the comic continued, pointing at me. Laugh just made my life more interesting. The audience laughed even more that night, and for the first time I laughed too. Wasn't a fault that stood out. The contentious aspect of your shortcomings isn't just items you accept, are those you should show society to smooth down our edges and blend in. Tidy, tiny compartments. But what drives individuals to be a beige cookie-cutter version of themselves? Flaws. Fascinating. They define us as human beings, and should someone have difficulty with your eccentricities, it speaks more about them than it does about you. Let's be honest, everyone's wandering around with imperfections. Even if they seem otherwise, that influencer with the ideal feed most likely takes 100 selfies for every one girl publishes. The person at the gym with abs like Greek marble clearly suffers during dog films. Nobody is flawless. Simply some folks are better at posing for me. Accepting my shortcomings began with my horrible sense of direction, which made me ashamed when I got lost. Even Google Maps screamed, "Turn left." Then I began slinking into it now. Consider losing as a natural aspect of the adventure. Some of my fondest memories include the moment I happened to stumble into this so-called fault resulted in the birthday celebration for a random stranger. Here's the deep message. Frequently, the thing that causes you to identify a defect is something else entirely. Unforgettable, the gap in your teeth, the way you trip over your words when you're enthusiastic, the strange pastime you're crazy with. These are the things that cause others to grin, connect to you and remember, your faults are your trademark. They are not defects. Hence, flaunt them to demonstrate planet. You're not scared to be yourself, warts and all. Laugh too loudly. If that birthmark makes you proud of your terrible dancing techniques, you could simply, after all of life, inspire someone else to accept their own imperfections. Spend time trying to be flawless when you are already so gloriously unique. Musicians. 5. Stop the modest boasting bullshit. Let's be honest, humble bragging is the social media equivalent of a terrible couver. Everyone is aware of what you want to achieve, and it's not functioning. I find it unbelievable that I get another promotion, thus not ready for all this responsibilities, or just completed my 6th marathon this year. Hope I could. Please quit fixating on running. We notice you, and really if you're proud of something personal, you don't need this here. To hide your achievements behind a cover of false humility, modest pride, isn't humility. It's insecurity wrapped in a ribbon. And let's be provocative for 2 minutes later, why are we trying to minimize our WIS instead? By commemorating them, who are we trying to fool? I have to confess that I was a serial one of my preferred moves, was acting as if I hadn't studied for a test, and then sloppily dropping in, oh, I earned an A+, fortunate guess, I think lucky indeed. Sure, I spent hours getting ready for the test. The reality was I was nervous about seeming haughty, therefore I minimized my effort. However, deep down it didn't feel good. Instead, I pretended the turning point in a chat with a buddy after I modestly boasted about completing a significant job assignment, remarked something like, GH. I find it hard to believe they chose my idea. I completely felt it sucked. My buddy glanced at me and stated, "Why can't you just say you worked hard and you're happy of it?" Boom, called out. She was correct. That moment helped me see the amount of effort I spent attempting to present my successes in a manner that would felt good. Hence, here's my contentious advice to avoid the modest. Tell the world what you're proud of loud, and really gloat and simply brag. Apparent you ran a marathon, fantastic. Congratulations, you did a mean run. Last night's lasagna tells me everything about it. Bragging isn't haughtiness when it's anchored in genuineness and happiness. This joyful section comes from here. You own your wins. Picture a world in which we all stopped and let others to follow suit. Assuming to be unintentionally brilliant, I began to feel quite pleased. It would be like a large group embrace of mutual excitement and self-confidence and buzz. To be honest, it sounds much better than a feed loaded with manufactured humility right now. Me mistaken. This does not imply you should become a walking loudhailer of self-praise. There is a balance celebrated here. Your successes should be shared, but keep your grounded and avoid rubbing it in people's life. The secret is to be honest. Here is the deep message you need not to apologize for. For being happy of oneself, life is difficult and achievements of any kind merit. Celebrated by embracing your achievements, you are not only respecting your path, but also displaying to others what's possible. So stop the modest boasting next time you do something wonderful. Don't minimize it. Shout it with your chest so others may see your shine, and when someone tries to call you conceited, grin and say no, simply music, honest 6 lies till you start it. People either love it or hate the iconic fake it till you make mantra. Let me clarify it. It's not about lying or passing for someone you're not. About entering a version of oneself you're not yet totally secure with, but maybe, and allowing that person lead the way, like wearing shoes that seem a bit too large till one day they fit exactly. To be honest, I used to consider this advice to be useless. Faking confidence seemed like preparing me for shame, but then the day I had to present arrived. Presentation before a group of executives, my palms were sweating, my voice shook, and I gave much thought to calling in ill. Instead, I stood in front of a mirror, corrected my posture and stated, "You have this, you belong." Here was it true at that time, not precisely, but I feigned tranquilly given. The contentious part is faking it, the presentation, and walked away feeling like a completely different person here. Make you a fraud. Let's face it, you are still working on something. Simulating something the sophisticated CEO most likely would have done while juggling 12 crises, that confident partygoer in a room most definitely feigning comfort full of strangers. Even parents lie half the time, unsure of what they are doing. Some individuals fake it long enough to develop into their roles. Others let dread paralyze them. The beauty of this way of thinking is that, when you behave like this, frequently action comes before belief. You are confident, competent, or educated. Something amazing occurs. Your brain begins to trust it over time. You are not pretending anymore. You are. Since it's science, Amy Cuddy's well-known power posture studies revealed that, actually, using confident body language might help you become more confident. Indeed, it's not only silly to pose like Wonder Woman in the restroom before an interview. This idea helps. Happened big time when I chose to join a writing club consisting of seasoned writers I knew nothing about. I felt like an imposter with every word I spoke, but instead of withdrawing into self-doubt, I behaved as though I belonged. I asked inquiries based on comments and turned in my work with anxious, though first it was all an act. Guess what? With time I improved. Writer. I stopped feeling like a fake because I wasn't one anymore. Here's. Actually, the jovial aspect, faking it, may be very enjoyable. See it as trying on a new identity, like inhabiting a character in a film, terrified of a fictional date. The confidence of a romantic comedy lead, terrified to present his concept, channel the energy of your preferred business person. It's inventiveness with a goal here, not dishonesty. Deep message faking is the instrument you employ to bridge not a destination, but rather bridge the gap between your present self and your desired self. Yet the road only effective if you are ready to invest in developing false confidence is excellent, but you also have to learn from experience and grow along the road. Go ahead and pretend it till you stroll into that room like you own it. Speak out, even if your voice trembles. Those large metaphorical shoes will help, till the reality is you already have what it requires, hence they fit your feet. Just have to behave as if it till you start to believe it one day. You come to see you are now all you ever purported to be, rather than lying. Music. Additional 7. Meditate Journal Reflections. The holy trinity of self-care meditation reflects Zen properly, but if you're not already in the habit, it might seem like a hassle. You sit down to meditate and ultimately wondering why journal for dinner. All you can think to write is today. Fine, and thinking who has the time when Netflix asks. Here's the contentious view of meditation and contemplating. Magic remedies for your life are mirrors. You may not always like. Why then do so many people shun them while you sit in silence? Your brain may retrieve every embarrassing comment you have ever said, or serve as a reminder of that to-do list you have been neglecting. But imagine what that pain is. The point I used to believe yoga and kombucha budgets were for. Retreat programs for journaling that connected with angsty teenagers, contemplating honestly and composing terrible poetry sounded like looking at a wall and waiting for a breakthrough. Suddenly life veers off a curve and presents an overwhelming combination of tasks. Stress, personal drama, and a generic sense of what am I even doing. In desperate, I determined to try everything. Originally, I began with meditation. Though I stayed with it, attempt was a catastrophe. I couldn't remain still for more than 2 minutes without checking the time. I came to see that meditation was about more than just clearing my head. It was about, the more I meditated, the more I began to see myself caught in worrying or over-analyzing patterns. Before another game share first entered was spiral journaling. Initially, my entries weird like I was working on a poor book, but quit attempting to improve it. excellent and fair. Let the words flow. Some days I complained about everything. Irritated me other days. I wrote about fantasies I dreamed of or things I appreciated, hadn't ventured to express aloud. One day I turned around and saw my diary was a roadmap of growth evidence, showing that my tiny daily reflections were gradually shifting. The toughest yet most fulfilling aspect, I neglected to consider my behavior. I considered my motives for reacting in that manner during that fight. Why am I pursuing this dream does not even important to me. Introspection is like organizing your sort through your clothes to select what to retain and discard what no longer benefit you today. Yet, if you start these habits, they can. Actually, pleasant meditation does not always entail silent, cross-legged sitting. You may meditate while cooking or even while writing on washing. Walking is another, not a Shakespearean masterpiece. Your place is where you may write the most unusual and bizarre ideas you would never speak aloud. Sometimes it's as easy as asking what. Reflect occasionally. Made me grin today. This is the deep message meditating journaling, and reflecting is about meeting yourself when you rather not be repairing yourself. Spend time sitting with your ideas, then jot them down and arrange them logically. You are developing rapport with the most crucial person in your life. Though it's not always beautiful, it's genuine. Hence, yes, consider journal reflection, not because it's popular or because you should, but because you deserve to know yourself. And when you do, you will come to see that all the solutions you have been looking for clarity have been there inside you all along. You only needed to still long enough to hear. Therefore, you have methods to access the most confident form of yourself. And let me tell you, it's about exhibiting, not about being courageous or flawless. Up as you can cause embarrassing situations, and all confidence isn't about never. Doubting oneself is about learning to mistrust your trust based on gut feeling. And if you got it this far, first of all, stay on. Second, you're fantastic. Want you to do one thing for me. Choose one tip from this video and really implement it. Really, I know you have this, and one little action may result in major improvements. If this speaks to you, be sure to press the like button, subscribe for more no BS life advice, and forward this. Someone who needs a small confidence boost right now and reminds you are already enough. You just have to witness it for yourself. Till next time, stay courageous. Remain unapologetic. Most importantly, remain you. I will see you in the next one.